The emergency session of the Union Security Council convened in a space that existed partly in real dimensions and partly in quantum computation. 37 species representatives materialized as holographic projections, their forms ranging from recognizable to incomprehensible. Supreme Commander Zalthor occupied the central position, and beside him, the High Arbiter Korix presided over the proceedings. Korix was ancient, even by galactic standards. They were a being of pure energy contained within geometric patterns of light. Their voice resonated across multiple dimensions simultaneously. "We are here to discuss the human situation," Korix began. "Commander Zalthor has invoked Article 17 of the Integration Protocols. He believes humanity poses an existential threat to Union stability." Murmurs rippled through the Council. Article 17 was rarely used. It required absolute proof of threat, and the consequences were severe. A species deemed too dangerous could be quarantined, their development monitored and restricted, their technology limited. In extreme cases, preemptive action was authorized. "Show them," Korix said to Zalthor. The holographic display activated. Footage from Yuna's trials played for the Council. Her fights, her adaptability, her completion of the lethal scenarios. But more than that, Zalthor showed them the analysis. Earth's gravity, atmosphere, biological hostility. Human history, warfare, technological development. "This is one human," Zalthor said. "One unremarkable member of their species. She has no genetic enhancements, no cybernetic upgrades, no specialized training beyond what they consider standard military education. And she has outperformed warriors that represent the peak of their species' capabilities." Ambassador Urella, one of the few council members sympathetic to humanity, spoke up. "Combat capability does not equal hostile intent. Many species are powerful but choose peace. How many of those species have the concept of total war?" Zalthor challenged. "How many have used weapons of mass destruction against their own people? How many have warfare so deeply embedded in their culture that they consider it entertainment?" He pulled up examples of human entertainment. Movies about war, video games simulating combat, sports that mimicked fighting, historical reenactments of battles. "They glorify violence," Zalthor said. "They study it, refine it, teach it to their children. Their entire civilization is built on the foundation of successful warfare." "That's not entirely fair," Kim Taeho said. His holographic form appeared at the council table representing Earth. He had been given emergency speaking privileges. "Yes, we have a violent history, but we also have art, music, literature. We have philosophy and science and medicine." "We're more than just warriors, are you?" Korix asked, their energy form pulsing with curiosity rather than judgment. "Ambassador Taeho, be honest with this council. If the Union decided humanity was too dangerous to integrate, if we tried to contain your species, what would happen?" The question hung in the air. Taeho knew his answer would determine everything. He could lie, could claim humanity would accept such a decision peacefully, but these beings had access to human entertainment, human history, human psychology. They would know he was lying. "We would resist," Taeho said quietly. "We would fight, even against overwhelming odds." "Especially against overwhelming odds," Taeho said. "That's what we do. That's what Earth taught us. When something tries to kill you, you don't lie down and accept it. You fight back with everything you have, and you make the cost of victory so high that your enemy regrets ever challenging you." The council chamber fell silent. Taeho had just confirmed their worst fears. Humanity wouldn't be peacefully contained. They would resist, and given what they had seen from one human, that resistance would be catastrophic. "I request permission to present additional information," Bei Yujin said, her hologram appearing beside Taeho. "Information that the council deserves to know before making any decisions." Korix considered. "Proceed." Bei Yujin pulled up classified files from Earth's military databases. "Park Yuna is a skilled soldier. She ranks in the top 15% of our active military personnel. But she is not special forces. She is not enhanced. She is not our best." New images appeared. Training facilities where humans underwent conditioning in environments that made the combat station look gentle. Special operations personnel who made Yuna's capabilities seem modest. Cybernetic soldiers who blurred the line between human and machine. "This is our actual military," Bei Yujin said. "We have approximately 47 million active personnel, another 200 million reserves, and in a total war scenario, we could mobilize approximately 1 billion fighters within 6 months. The numbers were staggering. Most Union species had military forces in the thousands, maybe tens of thousands. Humanity was proposing billions. But numbers mean nothing against advanced technology. One council member objected. You're right, Bei-Yujin agreed, which is why we developed these. The display changed. Orbital defense platforms bristling with weapons. Ships designed for combat, not exploration. Weapons that the Union recognized as capable of cracking planets apart, turning atmospheres toxic, igniting stars. We've been preparing for hostile first contact for 2 centuries, Bei-Yujin said, ever since we discovered radio and realized we might not be alone. Every probe we sent into space, every telescope we built, every calculation we made about the likelihood of alien life. We hoped for friends. We prepared for enemies. Salthor felt his crystalline structure resonating with something like respect. You expected us to be hostile. We expected you to be practical, Bei-Yujin corrected. A new species appears with resources you want. The practical response is exploitation. We decided that if someone came to exploit Earth, they would regret it. Oh Seo-Yun, Earth's Prime Minister, manifested in the council chamber. Her presence carried weight. Authority earned through years of steering humanity through its first contact with galactic civilization. This council is considering whether to contain humanity, Seo-Yun said. Whether to limit us, restrict us, possibly eliminate us as a threat. I understand the fear. I would be afraid too if I were you. But I want to be absolutely clear about something. She stood, her holographic form solid and unwavering. Humanity does not want war. We've had enough of war. We've spent thousands of years killing each other and we're tired of it. We came to the stars hoping for something better. Peace, cooperation, a chance to be more than we were. But, Korix prompted, sensing the unspoken continuation. But we will not be enslaved, Seo-Yun said firmly. We will not be contained. We will not accept second-class status in a galaxy we have every right to explore. And if this council decides we're too dangerous to exist freely, then you will discover exactly how dangerous we can be. Is that a threat? One council member demanded. It's a promise, Seo-Yun said. We're not asking for special treatment. We're not demanding dominance. We're asking for the same respect you give any species. Judge us by our actions, not your fears. Give us a chance to prove we can be good neighbors. And if we refuse? Salthor asked. Seo-Yun's expression was sad but resolute. Then you make an enemy of the most successful survivors this galaxy has ever seen. And I promise you, Commander, you don't want us as enemies. The council debated for hours. Arguments flew back and forth. Some called for immediate quarantine. Others advocated for cautious integration. A few, like Ambassador Irella, argued for full partnership, claiming that having humans as allies was better than the alternative. Finally, Korix called for order. This council must make a decision. But first I want to speak with the human who started this situation. Bring Park Yuna to the chamber. Yuna appeared minutes later, her holographic form looking slightly confused. She wore her usual casual clothes, and she stood before the most powerful beings in the galaxy, with the same calm she brought to the combat trials. Do you understand what is being decided here? Korix asked her. I think so, Yuna said. Whether humanity is too dangerous to be free. What do you think? Yuna considered the question seriously. I think you're asking the wrong question. It's not about whether we're dangerous. Everything is dangerous if you use it wrong. Fire is dangerous. Nuclear power is dangerous. Intelligence is dangerous. The question should be, will we choose to be destructive? And the answer? That depends on how you treat us, Yuna said simply. Treat us like equals and we'll be good partners. Treat us like threats and we'll become what you fear. That's just human nature. We reflect what's shown to us. Korix pulsed with something that might have been amusement. You're very wise for someone so young. I'm not wise, Yuna said. I'm just honest. And honestly, I'm tired of fighting. I came here hoping I wouldn't have to fight anymore. That humanity could find peace out here among the stars. The chamber fell silent. Yuna's simple honesty cut through all the military analysis and threat assessments. She was just a person, tired of violence, hoping for something better. And if that was true for her, it might be true for her entire species. Korix made their decision. This council will vote on integration status for humanity. But first I propose an alternative to our standard categories. The holographic display changed, showing Union membership tiers. Korix highlighted a level that glowed with different colors. Tier 2 Partnership, Korik said. Supreme Commander Zalthor had overseen the combat trials for 30 years. He had seen warriors from 1,000 worlds, witnessed feats of strength and skill that became legends, but he had never activated the escalation protocol until now. The protocol existed for one purpose: to test species that performed beyond expected parameters. Species that might pose a threat to Union stability. It was rare, used perhaps twice in the last century and never for a newly discovered species. Until Earth. You want to put her through lethal scenarios? Commander Velrith asked, his forearms crossed in concern. She's already proven her capability. She's proven she can win controlled matches, Zalthor corrected. He was a massive being, crystalline structures forming his body, thousands of years old. His voice resonated like stones grinding together. I need to know what humans can do when survival is the only option. This could cause a diplomatic incident, allowing a potential threat species into the Union without proper assessment would cause something worse, Zalthor said. He pulled up the reports on his display. Do you know what I found in Earth's historical archives? They have a concept called total war. Not fighting for territory or resources, but fighting to completely destroy an enemy's ability to resist. They bombed civilian populations. They invented weapons specifically designed to make entire regions uninhabitable for generations. Velrith shifted uncomfortably. Many species have dark histories. Name one that weaponized their planet's most destructive force within decades of discovering it. Zalthor challenged. Humans split the atom and immediately asked how to make it kill more efficiently. They created biological weapons that target specific genetic markers. They developed chemicals that dissolve lungs, and they did this while fighting themselves. He let that sink in before continuing. Now imagine what they could do if they unified. If they directed that capacity for violence outward, instead of inward. The escalation protocol exists for exactly this scenario. On Earth, Bei Yujin sat in her office at the Global Defense Council, reading the same reports that Zalthor was reviewing. As Earth's chief military strategist, she understood what the aliens were seeing. Humanity's history was written in blood. Their advancement was measured in bodies. They're going to escalate the trials, she said to the council members on the video conference. They're scared, and scared people make desperate choices. Should we pull Yuna out? Asked one of the generals. No, Bei Yujin said firmly. If we withdraw now, they'll assume we're hiding something worse. We need to show them exactly what we are. Better they see it in a controlled environment than discover it during an actual conflict. And if Yuna can't handle the escalation? Bei Yujin smiled without humor. Then we send someone who can. The notification came to Yuna's quarters at midnight station time. She was to report to Simulation Bay 7 at 0600 hours for advanced combat assessment. No weapons would be provided. No backup would be available. She was to treat the scenario as a real combat situation. Yuna read the message twice, then went back to sleep. She had learned long ago not to waste energy worrying about things she couldn't change. Simulation Base 7 was different from the standard arenas. It was a massive space filled with holographic projectors and physical obstacles that could reconfigure in real time. The scenario could become anything: urban warfare, wilderness survival, ship-to-ship combat, zero-gravity engagement. When Yuna entered, she found herself in a ruined city. Smoke filled the air. Fires burned in distant buildings. And somewhere in this manufactured hell, there were enemies programmed to kill her. The simulation began without warning. The first attacker came from above, dropping from a shattered building with a plasma blade. Yuna rolled aside, grabbed a piece of rubble, and threw it with startling accuracy. The impact stunned the holographic enemy long enough for her to close distance and disable it with strikes to what she assumed were vital areas. 2 more enemies appeared, firing energy weapons. Yuna used the urban terrain, ducking behind cover, moving constantly. She analyzed their firing patterns, found the gaps, advanced when they needed to recharge. When she got close enough, she didn't fight fair. She struck eyes, throats, joints. She used improvised weapons: shattered metal, broken concrete, a piece of rebar that became a devastating club. In the observation room, young Wu Jin watched with professional interest. He was officially listed as a diplomatic attaché, but his real role was covert operations. He had infiltrated the station weeks ago, and now he provided real-time intelligence to Earth. She's not fighting like it's a test. he reported quietly into his concealed communicator. She's fighting like it's war. Because it is war, Lee Minho replied from Earth. It's just a quiet one. They're testing whether they can safely integrate us. We're proving they can't safely ignore us. The simulation escalated. More enemies. Better weapons. Tactical coordination that would challenge military units. Yuna adapted to each change. She set traps using rubble. She created ambush points. She used the environment as a weapon, collapsing damaged structures on groups of enemies. The observers watched in silence. What disturbed them wasn't that she could fight. Many species could fight. What disturbed them was how she fought. There was a calculated brutality to her tactics, a willingness to do whatever worked regardless of honor or tradition. She fights like a survivor, Mixthal observed, not like a warrior. Warriors have codes. Survivors have only one rule: live. The simulation threw a new challenge. Enemy reinforcements with heavy armor and superior weapons. By all tactical calculations, Yuna should have retreated or surrendered. Instead, she went hunting. She studied their patrol patterns. She isolated individuals. She stole a weapon from one and used it on the others. When that weapon ran out of power, she used it as a club. When it broke, she found something else. She never stopped adapting, never stopped moving, never stopped being a threat. The scenario was designed to last 4 hours. Yuna completed it in 2 hours and 17 minutes. She eliminated every enemy, secured every objective, and walked out of the simulation bay with minor injuries that her body was already healing from. The medical team scanned her. Elevated heart rate, higher adrenaline levels, some tissue damage, but nothing critical. She had pushed herself hard but stayed within her body's capacity to recover. "How do you feel?" the medical officer asked. "Tired," Yuna admitted. "Hungry, can I get food?" The medical officer stared at her. She had just survived a combat scenario that would traumatize most species, and she was asking about food. Supreme Commander Zalthor reviewed the simulation footage personally. He watched Yuna improvise weapons. He watched her set traps. He watched her use tactics that seemed instinctive rather than trained. At one point in the simulation, she had pretended to be injured to lure enemies into an ambush. The deception was flawless. "She's not exceptional for a human," Bayujin told him during the emergency conference call. "She's good, highly trained, but not our best. If you want exceptional, we have special operations units that make her look gentle." Zalthor felt something cold settle in his crystalline core. "You're saying there are more dangerous humans?" "Thousands," Bayujin said simply. "Tens of thousands if you include military personnel. Millions if you count anyone with combat training. We're a death world species, Commander. Violence isn't something we study. It's something we live. Why are you telling me this?" "Because you need to understand what you're dealing with," Bayujin said. "You can keep testing Yuna. You can throw harder scenarios at her. But eventually you need to ask yourself a different question. Do you want humanity as an ally or an enemy?" Zalthor ended the call and sat in silence. He pulled up Earth's military capabilities from what little intelligence the Union had gathered. Orbital defense platforms, nuclear arsenals, biological research that could easily be weaponized, all of it maintained while humanity was still confined to one star system. What would they become when they had access to Union technology? When they could build ships that traveled faster than light? When they could settle 1,000 worlds and multiply their already significant population? He accessed the combat station's computer, intending to review Yuna's complete file. What he found made him initiate an emergency session of Union military command. The file had updated itself. The AI assessment algorithms had completed their analysis. The threat classification had changed. Species human origin Earth. Classification apex predator. Threat level, extinction class. Recommendation, do not engage. The final line made Zalthor's crystalline structure vibrate with something that might have been fear. This species has the capacity and demonstrated willingness to pursue total warfare. Conventional military victory against a unified human force is calculated as impossible. Alternative diplomatic approaches strongly recommended. Zalthor looked at the holographic image of Yuna from the simulation. She was sitting in the ruins of the fake city, eating a protein bar she had somehow kept in her pocket through the entire ordeal. She looked young, harmless, almost innocent, but he knew better now. He had seen what Earth made. He had seen what survived when a planet tried to kill its own children for billions of years. And he realized with absolute certainty that the Galactic Union's future depended on what happened in the next few days. Dr. Kang Jiwan had never expected her astrophysics research to become relevant to military operations, but here she was, standing in front of a holographic display showing Earth's planetary data to a room full of confused aliens. The Union had requested a full briefing on human origins after Yuna's performance in the trials became impossible to ignore. Earth is our home, Jiwan began, adjusting her glasses. It's a terrestrial planet in what we call the Goldilocks zone. Not too hot, not too cold. This is standard, said Overseer Mixthal, a being that resembled a floating jellyfish with too many eyes. Many homeworlds share these characteristics. Yes, Jiwan agreed. But Earth has some unusual features. Our gravity, for example, is 9.8 meters per second squared. May I ask what gravity your species evolved under? Mixthal consulted his datapad. 6.1 meters per second squared. Jiwan nodded and pulled up a chart. Most spacefaring species evolved under gravity between 5 and 7 meters per second squared. Earth's gravity is nearly 50% higher than average. Every movement humans make, we're pushing against more force than your body's ever experienced naturally. Commander Velrith leaned forward in his seat. Surely this is not enough to explain such combat capability. No, G1 said. It's not just one thing. Let me show you Earth's atmospheric composition. Another chart appeared. 21% oxygen. Compared to most habitable worlds, that's incredibly high. It's actually mildly toxic in the long term. Our cells are constantly dealing with oxidative stress. Why would evolution favor such an environment? Mixthal asked. Because high oxygen allows for incredible energy production, Jiwan said. Humans can sustain intense physical activity for extended periods. Our endurance is. She paused, searching for the right word. Unusual. She pulled up another image. Earth's continents, oceans, weather patterns. Our planet has extreme temperature variations. The surface temperature can range from minus 90 degrees Celsius to plus 57 degrees Celsius. We have hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, tsunamis. Our weather actively tries to kill us. The room was quiet now. Aliens exchanged glances. And then there's the biological factors, Jiwan continued. Earth is filled with millions of species, many of them hostile. We evolved alongside predators, big cats that hunt in darkness, bears that can crush skulls with their paws, snakes with venom that shuts down nervous systems. Our ancestors survived by becoming better hunters than everything hunting them. She brought up microscope images of bacteria. Even our invisible world is hostile. We're constantly fighting diseases, viruses, infections. A human immune system is incredibly aggressive. We had to be in a constant state of warfare just to survive childhood. Mixthal's eyes flickered with something like understanding. You're describing a Class 9 death world. The term made several aliens in the room shift uncomfortably. Death worlds were rare. Planets so hostile that complex life shouldn't be possible. Most species avoided them. The idea that intelligent life could evolve on one seemed absurd. We didn't have that classification, Jiwan said. But yes, if that's what you call it, Earth is a death world, and humans are death world natives. In the combat trials, Yuna faced her Category 5 opponents with the same calm efficiency she had shown before. But now observers watched with different eyes. They saw the way she moved in the station's lower gravity like it was nothing. They noticed how she didn't tire, how her breathing stayed steady through fights that would exhaust others. A Voss warrior named Kelrax faced her in the arena. He was experienced, decorated, confident in his superior reaction time. He struck fast, all forearms moving in a blur of trained precision. Yuna blocked, deflected, and countered. Her movements were economical, wasting no energy. When Kelrax tried to grapple her, she used his momentum against him. When he adapted, she adapted faster. The match lasted 2 minutes, which was longer than Yuna's previous fights, but the outcome was never in doubt. Kelrax yielded, holding his dislocated shoulder. How? He asked. How do you process so quickly? I don't know. Yuna said honestly. This is just normal for me. Normal for a human, she meant. Normal for someone raised under Earth's crushing gravity, breathing Earth's volatile atmosphere, fighting Earth's constant challenges from birth. In the observation booth, Commander Velrith reviewed Earth's historical records. What he found horrified him. Humans fought wars before they had proper technology. They fought with sharpened metal, with chemical explosives, with biological weapons. They developed nuclear fission and immediately weaponized it. They've been at war for their entire recorded history, Velrith said to his assistant. Not just with other species, with themselves. Themselves? The assistant couldn't comprehend it. Different tribes, different nations. They divided their own species into groups and fought for resources, territory, ideology. Velrith pulled up casualty reports from something humans called World War II. This single conflict killed between 70 and 85 million of them. Their own people. The numbers were staggering. Most spacefaring species had populations in the billions, but they achieved that through peaceful development over millennia. Humans reached billions despite constantly killing each other. What kind of species survives this? The assistant whispered. The kind that gets very, very good at surviving, Velrith said. Yuna's next trial was environmental adaptation. Fighters were placed in hostile conditions to test their resilience. Temperature extremes, atmospheric changes, pressure variations. Most species could handle 2 or 3 before their biology failed. Yuna walked through all 8 test chambers without breaking stride. The heat chamber that should have caused heat stroke. She sweated and kept going. The cold chamber that should have induced hypothermia. She shivered but adapted. The low-pressure chamber that should have caused unconsciousness. Her body compensated automatically. Her physiology is adapting in real time, Mixthal observed, watching the biometric data. She's not using any technology. Her body just adjusts. Death World evolution, Jiwan explained via video link. Humans who couldn't adapt to Earth's changing conditions died. Only the most resilient survived to reproduce. We're the descendants of billions of years of brutal natural selection. The pain tolerance test was next. It was optional, used to determine medical needs during combat. Electric shocks of increasing intensity were administered while measuring reaction times. Most species tapped out around level 4 or 5 when the pain became too distracting. Yuna reached level 12 before the medical team stopped the test out of concern. She had stayed calm, focused, functional despite pain that should have incapacitated her. "Why didn't you stop?" the medical officer asked. Yuna shrugged. "It hurt, but I could handle it. Should I have stopped?" The medical officer, a gentle being from a peaceful world, could only stare. The concept of enduring pain beyond necessity was alien to him. His species avoided discomfort. They had evolved in paradise. Yuna had evolved in hell. Back on Earth, Lee Minho received reports from intelligence sources throughout the Union. The diplomatic channels were exploding with chatter. Fear, mostly. Some species were calling for humanity to be quarantined. Others wanted alliances, recognizing that having Death World warriors on your side was better than facing them as enemies. "They're scared," Han Suho said, reading the intercepts. "Good," Minho replied. "Fear means respect. Respect means they won't try to colonize us or treat us like primitives. Some of them are arguing that we're too dangerous to integrate into the Union." Minho smiled. "Then they should have thought of that before inviting us to their combat trials." In her quarters, Yuna video called her family. Her mother appeared on screen looking worried. "Are you hurt?" her mother asked immediately. "I'm fine, Mom," Yuna said. "Better than fine. The gravity here is so light everything feels easy." "The news is saying you're frightening people." Yuna frowned. "I'm just doing what they asked. Fighting in their trials." "I know, honey. I'm proud of you." Her mother paused. "But be careful. When people are frightened, they make bad decisions." After the call ended, Yuna sat quietly, thinking about her mother's words. She hadn't meant to scare anyone. She was just being herself, doing what any trained human could do. It wasn't her fault that the galaxy had never encountered Death World species before. The combat station's central computer continued its analysis. Every fight, every test, every biometric reading added to Earth's file. The threat assessment algorithms had moved beyond simple calculations. They were now running predictive models, trying to estimate what humanity might be capable of if they chose violence. The results made the computer's AI Oversight Committee flag the report for immediate review by Union Military Command. Species: human. Origin: Earth. Classification: apex predator. Threat level: extinction. Class. The report included a single recommendation that would change everything: do not engage. The first thing Una noticed about the combat station was the gravity. It felt wrong, too light, like walking on the moon. She had to adjust her steps to avoid bouncing with each movement. The other fighters moved normally, which meant this was standard for them. Earth's gravity was stronger than what most species considered comfortable. She filed that information away and kept smiling. The waiting room was crowded with fighters from across the galaxy. There was a Kryn warrior named Threxus who stood nearly 8 feet tall, his reptilian skin covered in natural armor plates. There was a cloud of sentient gas that called itself Whisper, contained in a force field suit. There were dozens of others, each one representing their species. Each one carrying weapons or biological advantages that made them dangerous. And there was Una, in her athletic clothes, eating a protein bar. A small alien approached her. It had 6 legs and eyes that glowed faintly blue. First time at the trials? It asked in a friendly tone. Yes, Una said. Everything is so interesting here. You are very brave, the alien said. Or very foolish. Humans have no natural weapons. No armor, no venom. How do you expect to survive? Una tilted her head. I guess I'll figure it out as I go. The alien made a chittering sound that might have been laughter. Good luck, human. Try to last more than 30 seconds. It will be less embarrassing for your people. On Earth, in a secure facility beneath the Swiss mountains, Lee Minho watched the feeds with a team of analysts. Choi Hyejin sat beside him, her screens filled with biological data on every species registered for the trials. The Kryn have reactive armor, Hyejin said, pointing to Threxus. Their plates harden on impact. Punching one is like punching concrete. Una knows, Minho said. The Voss have 4 arms and can process visual information 3 times faster than humans, Hyejin continued. Their reaction time is, Una knows, Minho repeated. Hyejin turned to look at him. She's going to get hurt. Maybe, Minho said. But they're going to get hurt worse. The first trial was announced over the station's communication system. Hand-to-hand combat, elimination rounds, no weapons allowed. Fighters would face each other in pairs until only the top performers remained. The arena floor was a simple circle, 50 meters across, with sensors embedded to track every movement. Una was called in the third match. Her opponent was Threxus, the Kryn warrior. The crowd of observers murmured. It seemed like a mismatch, the small human against the armored giant. Threxus entered the arena with confidence. He had fought in these trials before and won honors for his people. He looked down at Una, who barely reached his chest, and felt something like pity. You should forfeit, he said in his rumbling voice. I do not wish to harm you badly. Una stretched her arms above her head, rolling her shoulders. That's sweet of you, she said. But I'm good. Let's do this. The starting signal chimed. Threxus moved first, which was his mistake. He reached for Una with his massive arms, intending to grab her and pin her to the ground for a quick, merciful victory. His species was strong, but not particularly fast. On his homeworld, strength mattered more than speed, but Una wasn't from his homeworld. She moved like water, slipping under his reaching arms before he could adjust. Her hand shot out and struck his elbow joint, not hard, just precisely. The Kryn's arm bent wrong, hyperextended, and he roared in pain. He swung with his other arm, but Una was already gone, circling behind him. She jumped, using his bent back as a platform, and wrapped her legs around his thick neck. Before Threxus could react, she twisted her body, using her entire weight and momentum. The Kryn's world spun. He felt his balance fail. His other arm was wrenched behind his back, joints popping out of place. He hit the arena floor hard. The impact would have killed a human. For Threxus, it just knocked the air from his lungs. He tried to rise, but his arms wouldn't respond. Pain shot through his nervous system. Una released him and stepped back, breathing steady. You okay? She asked. Threxus groaned. The medical team rushed in. The timer showed 4.3 seconds had passed since the match began. The arena fell silent. In the observation booth, Commander Velrith stared at the screens. He was Voss, experienced in combat assessment, and he had reviewed thousands of fighters over his career. What he just witnessed made no sense. "Run that again," he said to his assistant. Slow motion, they watched the replay. Frame by frame, they saw Yuna's movements. Perfect efficiency. No wasted motion. She had analyzed Threxus in seconds, identified his weak points, and executed a combination that used his own strength against him. Her neural processing speed, the assistant said, checking the biometric data. "It's reading at levels comparable to the Voss." "That's impossible," Velrith said. The preliminary scans were wrong," the assistant interrupted. "Or we measured the wrong things." In the arena, Yuna was walking back to the waiting area. She passed other fighters who now looked at her differently. The friendly alien with 6 legs skittered away from her. Whisper's containment field flickered nervously. The combat station's central computer processed the match data. Threat assessment algorithms ran calculations, comparing Yuna's performance against thousands of recorded fights. The system flagged anomalies. It requested additional sensor data. It recalculated. A new message appeared in the observation booth. "Recalculating. Threat assessment elevated." Commander Velrith leaned forward. "Get me all available information on Earth," he said. "Everything. Climate data, environmental conditions, evolutionary history. I want to know what kind of world produces a fighter like that." Yuna's next 3 matches lasted a combined 11 seconds. She faced a Voss warrior who telegraphed every strike. She faced a chemical-based life form that tried to corrode her skin, but failed when it discovered human skin was surprisingly resistant. She faced a fighter twice her mass who relied on intimidation and found it didn't work. Each time she won with minimal effort. Each time she smiled and asked if her opponent was okay. Each time the observers grew more silent. By the end of the first day, Yuna had advanced to the Category 6 brackets. The system automatically promoted fighters who performed above their classification. She was the first Category 7 fighter to move up so quickly in the station's recorded history. Lee Minho received the reports with satisfaction. "How are the other species reacting?" he asked. Han Suho, his intelligence officer, pulled up diplomatic chatter from various Union channels. "Confusion, mostly. Some anger. A lot of them are demanding investigations into whether we're using illegal enhancements." "Are we?" "No," Suho said. "Yuna is baseline human. Not even augmented. The medical scans prove it. Then what's the problem?" Suho smiled. "The problem is they're realizing that baseline human is a lot more dangerous than they thought." In her assigned quarters, Yuna sat on the bed and called Earth. The transmission delay was minimal thanks to quantum communication relays. Minho's face appeared on the screen. "You're making waves," he said. "I'm just doing the trials," Yuna replied. "Everyone else seems surprised that I can fight." "That's because they don't understand what Earth is," Minho said. "They don't understand what we had to survive to get here." Yuna nodded. She looked tired but satisfied. "Tomorrow they're moving me to Category 5. The opponents will be harder. Can you handle it?" Yuna's smile was sharp. "Minho, these are controlled trials with medical teams on standby. Back home I've fought in places where losing meant dying. This is easy," Minho laughed. "Go get some sleep. Show them what Earth makes." Yuna ended the call and lay back on the bed. Outside her window, the stars looked different than they did from Earth. But she wasn't homesick. She was exactly where she needed to be, doing exactly what Earth needed her to do. In the station's central computer, another update processed. The file on Park Yuna expanded with new data, new assessments, new warnings. Species: human. Origin: Earth. Threat assessment: critical, reclassifying. And in observation booths throughout the station, alien commanders began asking the same question: what kind of world creates warriors like this? The message arrived on a Tuesday morning, though Kim Taiho would later think that such a mundane detail seemed absurd for something that would change everything. He sat in his office at the Earth Diplomatic Corps building in Geneva, staring at the holographic display that floated above his desk. The text had been translated into Korean, English, Mandarin, and 15 other Earth languages, but the meaning was clear in all of them. The Galactic Union requested Earth's presence at a combat evaluation. It was not optional. Tejo read through the document for the third time, his coffee growing cold beside him. 47 pages of regulations, safety protocols, and legal disclaimers. Buried in Section 12 was the part that made his stomach tighten. Every species that joined the Union had to undergo combat trials. It was how they determined your place in the hierarchy, how much respect you received, and ultimately, how much freedom you kept. He picked up his phone and called the one person who might actually laugh at this situation. "They want to see if we can fight," Tejo said when Lee Minho answered. Minho was quiet for a moment. Then he did laugh. "Of course they do. Everyone wants to know if the new kids can throw a punch." "It's more than that," Tejo said. "This determines our entire position in their civilization. If we score too low, we become a protectorate. They make our decisions for us. Then we don't score low. The regulations limit what weapons we can bring. No plasma rifles. No nuclear devices. No AI-guided systems." Tejo scrolled through the list. "Minho, they've banned almost everything we're good at. What can we bring?" "Basically, whatever we can carry ourselves." Minho was quiet again, but Tejo could hear the smile in his voice. "Then we send someone who doesn't need weapons." That was how Park Yuna ended up in Tejo's office 3 days later, looking remarkably unconcerned about the whole situation. She wore civilian clothes, jeans, and a light jacket, and she had stopped at a coffee shop on the way. She sipped her latte while Tejo explained what the Union wanted. "So they want to test us," Yuna said. "See what humans are made of." "Yes, and the problem is we don't know what we're up against. The other species have been doing this for thousands of years. They have warriors bred specifically for combat. Some of them are 8 feet tall with armor-plated skin." Yuna shrugged. "Everyone bleeds," Tejo blinked. "That's not reassuring." "Should I be reassuring?" Yuna asked. She smiled, and it was the kind of smile that made Tejo remember why she had 17 commendations and a reputation that made generals nervous. "You asked for someone who could handle themselves." "I can handle myself." "The Union thinks we're weak," Minho said from where he leaned against the wall. "Their preliminary scans of Earth broadcasts show our entertainment, our cities, our civilian life. They don't see the military bases. They don't see the training facilities. They see people drinking coffee and complaining about traffic." "Good," Yuna said. "Let them think that." Tejo wanted to argue, but he knew it was pointless. The decision had been made at levels far above his security clearance. Earth would send Park Yuna to the combat trials, and whatever happened next would determine humanity's future among the stars. The transport ship arrived exactly on schedule. It was a sleek vessel that made Earth's spacecraft look like toys, all smooth curves and technology that seemed like magic. Yuna walked up the boarding ramp with a small backpack slung over one shoulder. She had packed light. Comfortable clothes, some snacks, and absolutely no weapons. The alien crew stared at her. They were a species called the Voss, with 4 arms and skin that shimmered like oil on water. The ship's captain looked at Yuna, then at Tejo, then back at Yuna. "This is your warrior?" the captain asked in heavily accented English. "This is our representative," Tejo said carefully. The captain made a sound that might have been laughter. "The Union will categorize you in the lower tiers. You understand this, yes? Your people will have limited privileges." Yuna smiled pleasantly. "We'll see." The journey to the combat station took 6 days. Yuna spent most of it exploring the ship, asking questions and charming the crew with her apparent innocence. She asked about their home planets, their families, their favorite foods. She acted like a tourist, not a soldier, and the Voss crew relaxed around her. On the 4th day, one of the junior officers asked her about Earth's warriors. "Do you have combat training?" he asked. "Military structure?" "Oh, some people do," Yuna said. "We have different paths. Some people become soldiers, some become teachers, some work in offices, and you?" "I keep busy," Yuna said. The combat station appeared on the viewing screens like a massive wheel spinning in space. It was enormous, large enough to hold thousands of beings with sections dedicated to different types of trials. Environmental chambers, zero-gravity combat zones, arena floors that could simulate any terrain. Yuna pressed her face against the viewing window like a child seeing snow for the first time. "It's beautiful," she said. When the ship docked, Yuna was escorted through processing along with representatives from dozens of other species. There were beings covered in scales, beings made of living crystal, beings that floated instead of walking. They all carried weapons. Energy blades, plasma projectors, biological toxins stored in specialized containers. Yuna carried her backpack. At the registration station, a bored-looking administrator processed her entry. Biometric scans, species classification, preliminary physical assessment. The machine beeped and hummed, analyzing her bone density, muscle composition, neural response time. The administrator looked at the results and frowned. "Your skeletal structure is quite fragile," he said. "And your muscle efficiency is below average for your size. Is that bad?" Yuna asked. "It means you will likely be placed in Category 7, the administrator said. "The lowest combat tier. Are you certain your species wishes to proceed? You may request a different representative." Yuna smiled. "No, this is fine. I'm exactly where I need to be." The administrator shrugged, which involved several shoulder joints that humans didn't have. He stamped her registration with a holographic seal. Somewhere in the station's central computer, a new file was created. Species human. Origin Earth. Threat assessment pending. Yuna walked into the waiting area where other Category 7 fighters gathered. They looked at her with a mixture of pity and dismissal. A small, soft creature from a gentle world. She would be eliminated in the first round, they thought. She would go home and tell her people that the galaxy was too dangerous, too harsh. Yuna found a seat, pulled out a protein bar from her backpack, and waited for the trials to begin. She looked relaxed, almost bored, like someone waiting for a bus rather than a combat evaluation that could determine the fate of her entire species. In orbit above the station, Lee Minho watched the live feed from Earth's observation vessel. He saw Yuna sitting calmly among aliens twice her size, and he smiled. "Show them," he whispered to the screen. "Show them what Earth makes."